कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकि कोकिलम्। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताया पतये नमः। जयत्याश्रितसन्त्रास ध्वान्तविध्वंसनोदयः प्रभावान् सीतया देव्या परमव्योमभास्करः परमव्योमभास्करः।
श्रीमते निगमान्त महादेशिकाय नमः। In a journey in the forest, Rama requests the great narrator, master orator Vishwamitra to tell him about Ganga, Gangeya who's Kartikeya, Siddhashramam, how Kamashramam happened and so on. In the due course, he also describes Samudra Manthanam, how Lord Shiva became Neelakantha, how Dhanavantri Avataram took place, how Kurma Avataram took place. In that process, he describes how that Amrita Kalasham which was carried by Dhanavantri was followed, chased by the Asuras and the Devas. That is when the Lord chooses to become a very enchanting avataram called as Mohini Avataram. This is the only avataram where he has taken that of a lady. Very pretty, very beautiful. Apsara Strees were very ashamed after looking at her. She was so beautiful. Now comes a question. As such, Sriman Narayana is called as Purushottama. To that Purushottama, we recite Purusha Suktam. Purushottamaha. So he is the Uttama, the best amongst all Purushas. Purusha doesn't mean men. Agragami Purushaha, Puruvahu Sanoti iti Purushaha, Purishete iti Purushaha. The one who stays within is called Purusha. Atma could be Purusha. The one who stays within is within, which is Antaratma, Paramatma could be Purusha. Puruvahu Sanoti iti Purushaha. The one who grants what his devotees request legitimately is called Purusha. Agragami Purushaha. The one who walks in the front is called Purusha. These are all the various meanings. So he is Purushottama. He is different from the Achetana Tattva, he is Purusha. He is different from the Baddhatma, he is Utpurusha. He is different from the Muktatma, he is Uttara Purusha. He is different from the Nityatma, he is Uttama Purusha. Uttama Purusha is Purushottama. Now he is called Purushottama. How did he become a lady? Because Shastram tells that as per philosophy, all the creations in this world are female. Now you may be wondering, what about men? Men are also treated as female in Shastram. It says, Sa eva vasudevoyam sakshat purusho uyate stri priyam itarat sarvam jagat brahma purusham param. So the Parama Purusha alone is Purushottama, everyone is a lady. That we are telling on one side, and on the other side we are telling that Purushottama became a lady to prove that the Lord treats all genders equally. If he did not incarnate as a woman, some person will come and say, he loves only men, he is averse to women. No. For the Lord, he is beyond gender, he is beyond religion, he is beyond caste, he is beyond creed, he is beyond everything what we know of. So the Lord became Mohini. She distributed Amritam and she gave Varuni to the Devas, and we know what happened later. So this is where Kurmavatar Charitram roughly ends. Now why should all these be told? We should find that relevance. Why Vishwamitra is narrating all of this to Rama? One, while he narrated the anecdote of Lord Shiva consuming the poison and becoming Neelakantha, later in the same Srimad Ramayana and Uttarakanda, because of Nagastra Prayogam, Rama and Lakshmana swoon on the ground. That is when, in the third time when they swoon on the ground, Hanuman goes to the foothills of Kailasha, brings Sanjeevani Parvatam, and the fresh air of those leaves brings Rama and Lakshmana back to life. So, when the world was suffering during Samudra Manthanam because of poison, Lord Shiva came to rescue. In the same Srimad Ramayanam, when Rama and Lakshmana were suffering, the one who had the grace of Shiva, Rudravataram, Hanuman came to rescue. In fact, while describing Tirumala, Vedanta Deshika states, Api nikhila loka sucharita mushtim daya durita murchana jushtam sanjeevayatu daye mam anjanagirinaatha ranjaneem bhavati. He says, here is the benevolence of the Lord of Tirumala. Why? Because when we are all swooning on this earth, because of this prarabdha karma, sanchita karma, the one seated above Anjanadri is the one who gives us daya and wakes us up. Who is the one seated above Anjanadri? Lord Srinivasa or Vishnu. Why Anjanadri? He says Anjanadri is the place where Hanuman's mother worshipped. So Hanuman is the one who brought Sanjeevani. So this connection is brought by Vedanta Deshika here to remind Rama that later, again by Rudravataram, people will come back to consciousness. This charitram is mentioned. Second, why Mohini Avataram is mentioned? Mohini Avataram is one of the avatarams where the Lord took the disguise of a female. In Ayodhya Kandam, when Rama tells Sita that I am going to the forest for 14 years, Sita insists that she will also come. Rama disagrees. Towards the end of it, Sita says, Triyam Purusha Vigraham. You are actually not a man. You are a woman who is in the disguise of a man. Thereby telling that had you had the courage, you would have taken me. So, Striyam Purusha Vigraham, when she was telling so, she meant that you have also taken Mohini Avataram. That could be the other derivation from this particular episode. Now, after having heard all these charitrams, see, he was sent to the forest to kill Tataka, to kill Subahu Maricha and come back. Now, in the due course, he has heard so many charitrams. That is why the poet says, Kushika Suta Kathita Vidita Nava Vividha Katha. Rama heard 9 different forms of story. No, 9 stories he heard from Vishwamitra. The other meaning for the word Nava, Nava means 9. The other meaning for the word Nava is new, contemporary. See, storytelling, story narration, listening has been an integral part of Sanatana Dharma. So, how many ever times you hear Ramayanam or Mahabharatam, you should feel like listening to it again and again. Every time there will be a new perspective. In this statement called as Kushika Sutta Kathita Vidhida Navavivida Katha, Nava stands for the number 9 because Rama heard Kurma Avataram, Vamana Avataram, he heard about Gangotpatti, how the birth of Kartikeya happened, all this while it was a 9 different charitrams. Nava Vividha Katha, 9 forms of story. 1. Second meaning, Nava means contemporary. See, in Sanatana Dharma, listening, narrating is an integral part of bhakti procedure. You keep listening to Ramayanam, you keep listening to Bhagavatam, you keep listening to Mahabharatam, you keep listening to Bhagavad Gita. So, as we listen, we internalize, we improve. As we listen, we internalize, we improve. So, this process is correct and it should be continuous, consistent. Here we have Navavividha Katha, where the narration should be contemporary. For now, I am in this particular year, in the 21st century, I should narrate to the audience in a contemporary fashion. Maybe 500 years before, the narration style would have been different. I cannot use that same style today. It will be irrelevant and will not be relatable. So, as speakers, we must also relate to the current day audience, which Vishwamitra did for Rama at that point in time. So, as Rama, Vishwamitra and Lakshmana were walking by, he received one message, Vishwamitra, that there is an Utsavam, a festival happening for Shiva Dhanus, for the bow handled by Lord Shiva in Mithila Desham, and Vishwamitra was invited. Vishwamitra thought in his inner mind that this is the right opportunity to take these 2 young boys to that particular kingdom. In that process of entering Mithila, they entered the outskirts of Mithila called Mithilopavanam. While entering Mithilopavanam, they find a dilapidated state of a hermitage. It was not in a good state, lot of dust. It was as if nobody was living in that ashramam for a very long time. That is when Rama asks, whose ashramam is this? And Vishwamitra starts giving another narration. He tells that Gautama Maharshi, one of the enlightened Maharshis, was married to the Manasa Putri of Brahma called Ahalyā. Flawless, blemishless lady, beautiful lady, Ahalyā. So as Ahalyā was married to Gautama Maharshi, Indra, who witnessed this marriage, was always of the intent that he had to marry Ahalyā and he should have had a relationship, bracket, physical relationship with Ahalyā. This wrong thought in him manifested in a large way. In that due course, one day, he created an environment as if it was the early hours of the morning. The moment Gautama Maharshi felt that it was the early hours of the morning, he had to leave the hermitage to go to the holy waters of the river. As he left the hermitage, Indra came in the disguise of Gautama Maharshi and slept next to Ahalyā and hugged her tightly. Tasyantam viditva cha sahasrakshah shachipatihi muni veshadharo bhutva ahalyamidam abravit. Now the moment he embraced Ahalyā and started speaking in a tone that could excite her mood, Ahalyā realized that this doesn't seem like my husband. Though it may look like my husband, this is not my husband. So from various other angles, she knew this is not her husband. She also realized with the little pollen of Parijata Pushpam atop the head of the Rishi that this must not be her husband, possibly could be Indra of Amaravati. She should have immediately got up, but she thought when Indra himself is coming to have a relationship with me, why should I deny it? Munivesham sahasraksham Vigyaya Raghunandana Matim Chakara Durmedha Devaraja Kutuhalat. Then she started agreeing to his advances towards her. While they were in a union, Gautama Maharshi, who went to the river waters, felt that this is not the early hours of the morning, something wrong has happened, and came back to the ashramam and saw his wife Ahalyā with the Gautama disguised Indra. He immediately saw Indra, who noticed him coming and leaving the ashramam in the form of a cat secretly. But Gautama cursed, now that you have spoiled the relationship between a husband and a wife, despite being a deva who should be teaching etiquette to the other people, you are engaging in such immoral activities. I curse you, Indra, that you shall have 1,000 marks on your body that resemble the private parts of a woman. Later it is said in certain Puranas that he went to Nagadvipa, which is a dvipam found between Bharatadesham and Sri Lanka, prayed to Parvati, who is in the form of Indrakshi, and she converted those marks on his body into ice. So he is called Sahasraksha. On the other hand, we have Gautama Maharshi, who saw Ahalyā in that state. He said, it is not as if you were not knowing that the person who is come is not your husband. You knew it. You have committed this affair knowingly. Infidelity is not allowed in a relationship. Thereby, hey Ahalyā, I curse you. Vata bhaksha nirahara. You will not need any food that humans consume from now. You won't need. Vata bhaksha nirahara tapyanti bhasmashayini adrishya sarva bhutanam ashramesmin vasishyasi. You shall stay in this ashramam. You won't have to go anywhere. So adrishya, you shall remain invisible. This is what he states. He doesn't say stone. Of course, later in the transcreation, Tulsidas ji states, Gautama nari stab bas upala dehi thare dheer charan kamal roj chahate kripa karahu raghubir Raghuber. So she was in the form of a stone, is what Tulsidas states. But again, I'm telling you, for the right version, we should always refer to Valmiki's Moola Ramayanam Adi Kavyam. He says Adrishya. What does Adrishya mean? Invisible. Does it mean that she became invisible like the invisibility cloak of Harry Potter? No. See, one is a stone. One version that we know is a stone. But converting a human body into a stone, I don't know how scientific it is. What he meant was, you shall be performing prayaschittam. You will seek remorse for what act you have done for many years together. So, if a person is performing penance, unmoved, for a minute they will look invisible to us because we won't even bother to look at them. Because they are in severe austerities, they don't want to get disturbed, we don't want to disturb them. That is one way to look at it. Second way is to look at her as a stone. Whichever way it is okay. But better to keep her as a human being and not convert her into a stone. This is the other way to look at it. Now, Rama listens to this particular narration of Ahalyā from Vishwamitra. But we have to see how Rama gives emancipation to Ahalyā. We have already seen before, if Rama's feet, what has emerged from Rama's feet, Ganga waters could give emancipation to the heaps of ashes of Sagara Chakravarti's sons. What is so surprising if Rama gives emancipation to Ahalyā? But was it Rama who gave emancipation to Ahalyā? Was it Rama's feet that gave emancipation to Ahalyā? Was it Rama's padukas that gave emancipation to Ahalyā? What gave emancipation to Ahalyā? We shall see that in the next episode.
Dear Astika reader, I am happy to be authoring a two-part book on the Ramayana in English. The first part is slated for release in the year 2024. The book aims to recreate and retell the Ramayana of Valmiki, conforming to the ancient commentaries and other allied literature. To receive notifications of the book release, kindly register with www.deshikadaya.org/books. Namaskaram.